All right, we gotta go over number 2, and then we don't have much time. We wasted way too much time on this other one. Okay, roughly 3% has disease. So here we have disease or not disease. 3% have disease. What percent don't have the disease then?
0.97.
Yep. Then, if you have a disease, you're going to test positive or negative. Positive, it was 95%, which means what percent tested negative? 5%. Everybody on board?
Yeah.
This one here, what percent tested positive? Or negative? It was negative? Like it said, if 98% who do not have the disease test negative. Do you guys see that one? So it means if you don't have the disease, there's a 95% chance you test negative. 98% chance you test negative. So if you don't have the disease, you want to test negative for the disease. If you have the disease, you want to test positive for the disease. That's how things should go, right? If you think you're pregnant, take a pregnancy test. You want to say yes if you are pregnant and no if you're not pregnant. That's ideal. So here, you don't really want to not have the disease until you have the disease. Because then you're going to freak out and think you have some disease. Like, everybody see Last Holiday? Right? That was bad. Worse yet, though, is if you have the disease and you test negative, because then you have it and you don't know you have it, you don't treat it, and then you just die someday, right? Out of nowhere. So this is what we call a false negative. Right? This is when you have it, but you don't know you have it, because it says you're negative. This is what we call a false positive, where it says you have it when you don't. So those are the two things we want to get to. How do you get to here? 0.03 times 0.05, 0.0015. How do you get here? 0.97 times 0.02, 0.0194. So this is the first one. And this is the second one. Right? So that means that false positive. It says you have it when you really don't. But I really do need 5 minutes with you guys to go over question 4, because otherwise I'm just letting you guys go off and it could be trouble. All right. So a couple things really quickly before the exam. My class width is not 5 or 10 in this situation. When it's 5 or 10, you just go down to the nearest, you start at like the next lowest 5 or 10 to start your lower class limit. When your class limit is not 5 or 10, just start with the smallest number as your lower class limit. So here, my class width is 3, you guys see that? So I'm just going to grab 32 and make that my first lower class limit. Everybody see where that came from? So then class width of 3, does that mean I go plus 3 and go this way like that? No. Remember, classes are separated by 3. So this class and the next class, 35 goes there. Class width, add a class width. 38, 41, 44, 47. Did I say 6 classes? Yeah. Then, to find the upper limits, what's the number that comes before 35? 34. Because my data is in whole numbers, so we subtract a whole number. The study guide is a little confusing because it's harder because my data is in tenths, so you'd subtract a tenth. These are whole numbers, so you subtract a whole number, which is more likely what I'll do in the exam because it's easier. And this last one, how do I find it? These are all separated by a class width, right? So plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, 49. Now we have our boundaries. Boundaries. Well, between 34 and 35 is what? 34.5. 34.5. And then between 37 and 38, 37.5, 37.5. Between 40 and 41, 40.5. Everybody on board with that? to get back to this one up here, I could just subtract 3, because these are all separated by, again, by class width. So that would be 31.5. Everybody kind of see where that one came from to get back up there? The next step is frequencies. So then I got to look up here and say, okay, between 32 and 34, that's these 3. There's 3 of them. Between 35 and 37, there's 3 of those. Bless you. Between 41 and 43, oh wait, 38 and 40, that's those 3. Between 41 and 43, these 2. Between 44 and 46, just those 2. And the last one would be these 3 here. Those 3. So those are my frequencies. But then I'm going to ask you to find relative frequencies. Does everyone get the frequencies part? Just count them. Frequencies, just count them. Relative frequencies is where it gets a little bit more confusing. Relative frequency is that ratio of what percent is in that class. So you take the number of that class, divide by the total. That gives you the percent or the fraction in that class. So how many do I have altogether?
16.
16. So this is going to be 3 out of 16, which is, someone find me 3 out of 16. So it ought to be 3 out of 16.
0.187.
0.187? Okay. Right, and so you're going to find all those in decimal. And then the cumulative is the other thing. You need to know the difference between them. They're not the same. Cumulative is like, remember, cumulative GPA, everything from the beginning up to now. So cumulative, how many are in this class or a previous class?
3.
3. How about this one? This class or a previous class?
6.
6. This class or a previous class?
11.
9. And then 11. Everybody kind of following that? Make sense? Okay, good. See you. Have a good weekend. Don't forget the study sessions on Monday.